All right, welcome back to another edition of the Blakey Lock Show. College football is here. It's official. It is week 0. If you're listening to this, there will be college football on tomorrow. I couldn't be more excited. So this is obviously going to be the week 0 preview. I'm also going to be recapping all of my best bets. If you haven't, there are, I think, 10, maybe 11 previews, went through every conference. The group of 5 had some great guests. Just had Jack Mack on Tuesday, giving out our college football playoff, national championship, and Heisman picks, so kind of big picture stuff. So definitely go give that a listen before the season starts. But in case you don't feel like going back and listening or just don't have time and want to get some futures in before the season starts on Saturday, I will be recapping my favorite futures at the end of the episode. This is going to be maybe the lowest production quality episode I've done so far. It is the first one I will be filming live from a Marriott. It is a very nice Marriott. I got upgraded to a suite for free, which was pretty cool. Unnecessary since I will be here for probably a total of 12 hours and I have 2 televisions, but I'm pretty happy with it. But this is where we're at. Got to get home on Friday so that I can be in front of the TV all day on Saturday. I think I'm going to make a trip to the bar for Notre Dame Navy. Should be a great Saturday. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with that game. It's the game that people are obviously the most excited about, and that would be Notre Dame Navy. The game is going to be in Dublin, Ireland, for the second year in a row. We're having the college football season kick off in a different country, which is fine. I don't care. Notre Dame in Dublin is cool. Notre Dame is currently sitting at 20.5-point favorites. They've been sitting there for a long time. The total is around 50.5, although it's been on the move, on the way down a bit since I made these notes. So it's an interesting matchup. Both teams are kind of in a new phase. Navy is onto a new head coach for the first time in a long time. It's Brian Newberry. Doesn't give me as many concerns as a first-year head coach normally does because he has been the defensive coordinator there the last couple of years. So internal hires, everybody already knows him. He knows the system. It's not a drastic change of anything for the kids or anything like that. In terms of Notre Dame, it is year 2 for Marcus Freeman, so not brand new, but still pretty new. And there's a brand new OC. Tommy Rees has moved on to be the new offensive coordinator for the Alabama Crimson Tide. So good for Tommy Rees, but some change in the offense there at Notre Dame. And obviously the big news for Notre Dame over the summer is they brought in Sam Hartman, a quarterback I really like. I think he's a stud, a total stud. So he's going to be in at quarterback for Notre Dame. However, bad things for Notre Dame. They lost basically their entire offense, which was Michael Mayer, who is now in the NFL. He got a ridiculous target share. So him being gone, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, it's going to be basically a brand new offense for Notre Dame. And for Navy, it's going to be kind of a different look. They're maybe going to pass the ball a little bit more than we've ever seen them pass the ball. New head coach, like I said, so maybe they're rejuvenated there at Navy. They've been in a bit of a rut the last couple seasons. And then when it comes to the line, Navy is a huge dog, especially with this total that's going to close below 50, in my opinion. Doesn't leave a lot of room for error for Notre Dame. They're going to have to be pretty perfect to cover that number. Navy has a dog, well, service academies in general as dogs of 14 or more are hitting at around a 65% clip since 2005. Just ridiculous. One of the most dependable things you can bet in college football every year. So when you get the opportunity, I think you have to do it. First game of the year. I'm going to take the points with Navy. They backdoored to cover against Notre Dame last year. I think that's right up there for grabs again this year. And I think they even could hang in there within a couple scores the entire game. I did find this at a 21 minus 120 I think at minus 120 or better, it's worth getting the 21 for that three touchdown protection. But I wouldn't pay any more than that, and I would play the 20 and a half if you can't get that 21. I still think it's a good line. So that's the biggest game. Hopefully it's great, lives up to the hype, and kicks off the season well. But the next game on the list is UTEP going to Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State is a 1 point dog. The total is 53 and a half. This total has been on the rise, actually. Um, First of all, Jacksonville State, for anybody interested, is in Jacksonville, Georgia, not Jacksonville, Florida. It is the first year in FBS for Jacksonville State, which is why you may not know much about them. If you do know Jacksonville State, it is probably because they are now the second team with a Gamecock mascot in FBS, joining South Carolina. They also upset Florida State very recently as an FCS team, which got a lot of national attention. So maybe that's where you heard of them. But Jacksonville State is into FBS for the first time. This is going to be one of two conference games this weekend, UTEP, Jacksonville State. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Jacksonville State hosting UTEP for their first ever FBS game. You think they're probably going to be juiced up. UTEP is a big year for them. I bet their win total over 5.5 if you listen to that conference preview episode. This one is one I really want for that over 5.5 wins. Would be a great start. I think they can get it even if they lose this game. This was obviously a coin flip when it came to the win total, but I think it's one they really can get. I think they have the more experienced team. The Jacksonville State first FBS game thing is I think maybe going to be too much pressure. They're not very good defensively. Jacksonville State, they're much more prolific offensively. They were one of the best offenses in FCS last year, but their defense was bad even for the FCS last year. And UTEP has two of the most dynamic players in this conference in wide receiver Tyron Smith and running back Deion Hankins. The wide receiver Tyron Smith was good enough that he was supposed to be transferring to Texas A&M, and there was some sort of academic issue. Like he was set, had his roster spot at Texas A&M, but there was an academic issue that came up, and he ended up not being able to complete the transfer, so just decided to come back to UTEP. So they have some electricity on offense at UTEP, and I think that's just going to be too much for this Jacksonville State defense. UTEP is very good in the trenches. They have big offensive linemen. Jacksonville State still has like FCS level talent in the trenches. It's kind of where they're lacking. So I think UTEP could dominate the line of scrimmage. They're going to have too much firepower on offense, and I think UTEP wins this game. So I did bet UTEP -1. And I think take the money line -1. Either one is good. All right, the next game on the list is UMass at New Mexico State. New Mexico State is a 6.5-point favorite. The total is 44.5. This is a New Mexico State team. Had a good year last year, went 7-6, although their bowl win was against Bowling Green, which doesn't really count. A lot of their regular season wins were kind of jokes of games. So I think they're being a little overvalued going into this year. It is their first year in Conference USA. So they're kind of taking a step from being an independent. UMass, on the other hand, is still one of the 4 remaining independents in college football. UMass has maybe their most talented quarterback they've ever had. I'm going to totally butcher this name, but Tyson Fomachan is my best guess. We're all going to learn together on Saturday, assuming that the commentators for this game know how to say it correctly. He transferred in. He has been at Clemson and Georgia Tech. He hasn't quite been able to get onto the field, but at the ACC level, obviously this is a way total downgrade in competition level. So I think he's really going to thrive here. I like this UMass team. I think they're really going in the right direction. I think New Mexico State's a little overvalued. So I'm taking the points here. I really like the points here. I got this over a touchdown, but I still like it at this current 6.5 number. The next game is Ohio at San Diego State. San Diego State is a short favorite of 2.5. The total is 49. Curtis Rourke, quarterback for Ohio. I bet Ohio to win the MAC. I like this team a lot. I think Curtis Rourke is the man. If you saw his brother Nathan Rourke, who was the quarterback at Ohio before him, had the play of the NFL preseason for I believe the Jaguars, where he shedded like four would-be sackers and then threw a bomb for a touchdown. So I love the Rourks, Canadian football guys, and I like this Ohio team a lot. I think San Diego State will be really tough defensively, as they always are, but I think they won't have enough offense. I think Curtis Rourke will still be able to get points on the board, and San Diego State just won't have the guys to get points back for the Aztecs. So I'm taking the points with Ohio. I got it at +3.5. It'd be great if you could get a three. Maybe some money comes in on San Diego State, but if not, I would still take the short number with Ohio. Next game is FIU at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech is an 11-point favorite. The over-under is 58.5. This is one of two conference games being played this weekend. Talked about the other one earlier. This is actually a revenge spot for Louisiana Tech. They had an embarrassing loss to Florida International last year. Louisiana Tech went 3-9 in year one of the Sonny Cumbie era last year, which was really, really a disappointing year for them. Skip Holt's era was really, really good. He was a great coach in Group of Five for Louisiana Tech for a long time. I think year two for Sonny Cumbie, things are really going to improve. They got Hank Bachmeier in at quarterback from Boise State. He transferred in. Tons of arm talent. He's another guy, like I was just talking about Tyson at UMass earlier. I think a step down in competition will be good for Hank Bachmeier. I think he has tons of arm talent and hopefully has worked on his decision making and will be able to do well here at Louisiana Tech. I think this FIU team is awful, awful, awful. And I think Louisiana Tech is going to want to keep the foot on the gas and win this game. So I'm back in Louisiana Tech, laying the points with them. I had it at 10.5, so 11. Totally fine. I would play it up to 12.5. The next game is Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 17.5 point favorite. The total is 55.5. These two teams played last year. Vanderbilt won 63-10. It is year two for Timmy Chang at Hawaii. He's a legend. If you're a college football fan, grew up a college football fan, you know the legend of Timmy Chang at Hawaii. He is now the second year as a head coach. I've heard lots of good things about what Timmy Chang has been doing this summer. Last year, I think he kind of was like trying to take it easy. He knew as a legend of the program, he wasn't having too much fire on him in year one. So he kind of eased into things and really ramped up implementing the offense he wants to run, which is the offense he played in, the run and shoot, which was legendary at Hawaii with all those awesome quarterbacks that they've had in the early 2000s. And so I think it's going to be good for Timmy Chang. I think he's going to come into this game really motivated. This team's going to come in really motivated. And I think this Vanderbilt team is kind of overrated. I think people are expecting them, after having a good year for Vanderbilt football last year, to kind of make this next jump. I don't know if there is a next jump. I think they're going to be about where they were last year, and the market thinks they're going to be better. So I'm kind of out on this Vanderbilt team. Fun fact that I learned while handicapping this game is Hawaii's last win over an SEC team was against Alabama in 2003, and that was on the island in Hawaii. The only thing crazier than the fact that we 20 years ago were in a world where Hawaii would beat Alabama in football and had any sort of chance to do that. The only thing crazier than that is that Alabama would ever travel to Hawaii for a football game. That would never happen in a trillion years now. But maybe we see it again. Maybe that streak is broken. 20 years later, Hawaii gets another win against an SEC team. I'm not totally confident in that, but I am taking the points, 17.5 points with Hawaii. The last game of the night is San Jose State at USC. USC a 30.5 point favorite. That total 66.5. Caleb Williams looking to defend his Heisman. This is the one game of this slate that I don't have money on. Pregame, I think there's just too much uncertainty because I think Caleb Williams will ball out in the first half. USC will score a ton of points at will, basically. And I think Caleb Williams could see the bench pretty early. Other starters could see the bench pretty early um, because I think this season, the emphasis, not this is going to sound dumb because, of course, this should be the emphasis every year, but I hope you understand what I mean. Caleb Williams already had his Heisman. Everybody's like, oh, it went well for Lincoln Riley in year one. And I think this year, everybody's going to be really locked in on that college football playoff, has to be the goal. The only reason they missed the college football playoff last year, well, not the only reason, you can argue whatever you want, but Caleb Williams couldn't walk in the Pac-12 championship game, and they would have made the playoff if they won that game. So think what you will about that. So I think really the emphasis is going to be keeping Caleb Williams and these guys healthy. So I doubt we see much of Caleb Williams in the second half, if at all, and other starters as well, kind of being yanked out. So there's too much uncertainty. If you had to play anything, it would be USC first half because I think they'll score at will, basically. Um, but that's it for week 0. Running through my bets one more time. I have Navy plus 21, UTEP on the short money line, Ohio plus 3.5. I like the current number. UMass plus 8. I still like the current number. Hawaii plus 17.5. Louisiana Tech minus 10.5. My favorite, if I had to pick one, would be UMass plus the points. I can see myself sprinkling on that money line. If I'm sprinkling on that money line Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, don't be surprised at all. So thanks for listening to the Week 0 preview. Again, I know this has been a bit of a low production value from my hotel room. There will be more on-screen stuff if you're watching this on YouTube. In the future, I'm going to have guests on in the future, hopefully every week if I can. And yeah, I think it's going to be really good. So if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're subscribed, rate 5 stars. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe there. Subscribe to YouTube no matter what, because there is some stuff that goes there that doesn't go on the regular podcast feed, clips and stuff like that. So definitely at Blakey Locks on YouTube. Go do that. On Twitter at Blakey Locks, Instagram, also at Blakey Locks, and on TikTok, apparently, Blakey underscore Locks. I'm trying to post on TikTok and Instagram. I'm not very good at either of those things. I've been on Twitter for so long, but follow me all those places. And if you want picks, if you just want to be able to look at all of my picks, I'm about to get my favorite futures. You can find every future that I bet for this college football season listed on the Action Network app at Blakey Locks. If you're somebody that doesn't really care about the podcast analysis, stuff like that, or you just want to get these numbers like I'm talking about, where I got UMass plus 8, it's now at 6.5, Ohio plus 3.5, now at 2.5, getting numbers over those key numbers, then make sure you're following me at Blakey Locks in the Action Network app. And yeah, so thanks for listening. But before we go, here are my favorite futures. Texas 22-1 and Penn State 25-1 to win the national championship. If you've listened to most of my stuff this summer, you know LSU is my real horse because I got them at a ridiculous number, but I think the value has been sucked out of that. I wouldn't take them now where they are. So Texas and Penn State are the numbers I like right now that you can get to win the national championship. Wisconsin to win the Big Ten plus 650. I think they're by far the best team in the Big Ten West. And if everything clicks with Luke Fickell, Phil Longo, Tanner Mordecai, everything they're doing there, I think plus 650 is a good number. I think they'll definitely win the West. And if they can get everything clicking by the time the Big Ten championship game rolls around, they could be dangerous and could pull off that upset. So I like plus 650. Western Kentucky plus 130 to win Conference USA. Austin Reed, I think, is the man. This is going to be the best offense in all of the group of 5, I think. So it's a team I like to go all the way. Washington plus 375 to win the Pac-12. I think they're just as good as USC, so this number is an absolute steal. I'm worried the Pac-12 is going to cannibalize themselves again, and Washington's not going to be able to make the college football playoff, but I think they're the best team in this conference. My favorite outright conference winner bet is Texas plus 125 to win the Big 12. If you've listened to anything the last couple weeks. You know how much I love Texas, so riding with that. I like that at minus 110 or better. I know that plus 125 might not be available. Few of my favorite win totals: Maryland over 7 wins at plus money, Penn State over 9.5 wins, Colorado I took under 4.5. It's now at 3.5. I still like it under 3.5. UVA under 3.5. Oklahoma under 9.5. Ole Miss over 7.5. Mississippi State under 6.5. And then Michael Penix Jr. and Drew Aller are the two Heisman bets that I would make right now. So those are my favorite futures. I understand not everybody's going to want to go back and listen to all 11 conference previews or whatever that I did. So if you don't, there are my favorite ones. If you only want to bet a couple, if you want to see all the ones that I bet without having to listen to the podcast, again, that's on the Action Network app at Blakey Locks. So thanks for listening. I would really appreciate if you're, again, subscribing to the YouTube at Blakey Locks. If you are on YouTube, hit the like button on this video. That does a ton for people being able to see it that aren't subscribed into the algorithm or whatever. And if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, make sure you're subscribed and make sure you rate 5 stars, stuff like that. It really does mean a lot. I know if you listen to podcasts, everybody says that, but especially for a small enterprising, I don't know, is that, I don't think I even want to say that word. Whatever. It really means a lot. So I would appreciate any help kind of boosting that, sharing it with friends. If you get a group chat from one of the boys asking for picks for the weekend, if you want to drop them the link to this podcast, I would really appreciate doing that kind of stuff. But yeah, talk to you next time for week 1. Go Cox.